Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen Report.
Mega is an improvised satire from the staff of a fictional megachurch.
We are here, the Lord, we are here, and we're ready to podcast.
Hiya, I'm Halle Levant, and this is Mega, coming to you from Twin Hills Community Church, where every single week we're giving our mega church a tiny family feel. And per usual, I'm joined by my co-host. He's the youth pastor for our high school ministry called Climax. Please welcome Gray Haas.
Light the fire in my home, fan the flame, and make it soul. Halle, how are you?
Too blessed. So blessed. I'm so happy to be here with you, talking to you today and finding out what God is doing in your life.
Well, Halle, God is doing so much in my life right now, and especially when it comes to my teens who come to Climax. As you probably know, since you have teenagers, it is cuffing season.
Oh, did you say cuffing season?
Cuffing season. Do you know what that is, Halle?
Cuffing season.
Cuffing season.
Cuffing season?
If you go on the internet and look this up, I kept seeing all these things, my teens saying, hey, it's cuffing season. Hey, it's cuffing season. And one thing you need to know as someone who leads youth or a parent, a lot of times you don't want to ask what that means, because then they're just going to lie and they're going to give you a different answer.
Yep, I've learned to Google it.
Yep. So I went on Google, or what I use now, which is an equivalent of Google, but you earn cryptocurrency for using it. I found out that cuffing season is exactly that, Halle. It's when teens pair off and they find some kind of locking device, whether that be handcuffs, a locking carabiner, in some cases a master lock, or something equivalent. Bike locks have been used, and they literally lock themselves, cuff themselves to the person that they're dating.
What?
And so I just was like, this is not going to fly, but is it a teaching moment?
And how do they go to the bathroom?
Well, that's the problem, Halle. How do they do everything together separately? And the things that we don't want them doing together, they're probably doing, and the things that they're supposed to do separately, they're probably doing together too, which isn't good.
It grieves the heart of God.
So guess what? I love to turn the tables on youth in really surprising, in surprising ways. And I said, guess what, guys? We're doing a cuffing Sunday.
Ooh!
And so when they came into the auditorium, they were asked to pick out some kind of device, some kind of cuffing device, whether that would be, I had all those things that I mentioned earlier, including some ones that was sort of improvised because we needed a lot. So, also had ropes, had some silk things that were sort of knotted, just really, chains, anything that could be used for cuffing. And so I said, first, what we're going to do is all of you who thought you were going to be cuffed to someone this season, raise the hand. Of course, everyone raised their hand.
Oh my gosh.
Then I said, go to that person that you thought you were going to be cuffed with and go stand beside them. They all paired off. Of course, and I don't like to name names, but Of course you had Lively Goodstock and Jimmy Padrone.
Oh, okay.
Didn't have partners. I just said, you two go together. They said, we don't want to be cuffed together. I said, it doesn't matter. We're doing this. You don't even, just wait. So what I did then, Halle, is I said, great, take out that locking device. And one at a time, I had them come up. And instead of locking themselves to their partner, they had to lock themselves to the cross.
Awesome.
And of course, after about the first 25 kids did that, it got a little bit crowded because how do you put that many things locking to the base of the cross that we have in the auditorium?
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it with all 150, 200 teens that were in there, but I think they got the point, and especially because then they just all said, Gray, we see what you mean.
Awesome.
That's a powerful metaphor for cuffing season, locking yourself to Jesus and no one else, because guess what? You can do all the things that you were going to do with that partner with Jesus. You know what I mean?
I love how you turned it on them.
And,
I love it.
And then it was kind of great, Halle, because afterwards, of course, they took off all the cuffing stuff and they just left a big pile of that stuff, which I had to have maintenance crew remove because they were like, this is kind of a fire hazard to have it in front of the doorway like this, but it looked like a big mountain of just, metal and things like that. So
sure.
I love my job, and I love when I can really take something that's popular with teens and literally cuff them to the word.
It's so cool. I mean, God has uniquely designed you to be able to speak to teens and to speak their language and to understand what they're saying and to turn their own stuff around on them.
Oh, it's so true.
It's awesome. That's what the prophets used to always do, is they would, lead, prophet Isaiah led David into a metaphor of a story, and then he flipped it on him.
I know.
And that's really the way that you show people, what it is that's actually going on in their lives. And I feel like that cuffing season to the cross is a the cross cuffing it's ripe with so many teaching tools and learning lessons in there. I mean, even the two, Lively and Billy, who said they didn't want to do it. Well, guess what? The Bible doesn't tell us that we have to want to do everything. You don't have to want to be married to a man of God. Mary didn't have to want to be impregnated with Jesus.
Right.
She just had to be honored when it happened.
And the thing that I love about the metaphor, Halle, is, I say it all the time, the word became flesh, right? And in this way, your little cuffing season became so literal. You actually asking to be, later unlocked from the cross, because, then a lot of them had to stand there through the rest of my message, which this week was about 45 minutes. So I think they were saying, ow, my wrist hurts, I lock my knees, feel faint, etc.
McCrispy strips are now at McDonald's. I hope you're ready for the most dippable chicken in McDonald's history. Dip it in all the sauces. Dip it in that hot sauce in your bag. Dip it in your McFlurry. Your dip is your business. McCrispy strips at McDonald's.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Well, teens will say anything to get what they want.
Oh, that's true.
I don't even know if they know the difference between fact and fiction. They just say what they need to get whatever they want. And
how are things going over there with your teen, your bevy of teens, Halle, and your family in general?
Oh, the Labont household has been relatively peaceful. We're in a routine, which happens at this time of year. I just feel so grateful. I've been doing my gratitude lists. I've been doing my prayer list in the shower every day. I've been setting an alarm to remind myself to pray throughout the day.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that awesome? I'm like, you know what? I can use this cell phone, my iPhone. I even have like reminders and notifications in my Lexus that I can set up. And so my Lexus a little graphic will come up with two little prayer hands in it, and it'll say, Halle, remember to pray. And so sometimes I'll just be driving down the road in my Lexus, and my Lexus will remind me to pray, and I'll start praying. Sometimes, Gray, I'll close my eyes out of habit.
Oh, yeah, you got to be careful
with that. And then I'm
that.
like, whoopsie daisies, I got to keep these ojos
Yeah, I noticed
open.
your phone has been going off. Like, what is it? Every 10 minutes you've got an alarm for.
Yeah, I figured, if people can face Mecca however many times a day, I can pray to the one true God of the universe.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank him for everything he's given me.
Every 10 minutes.
Yeah. So my alarm might go off in here because I can't figure out how to turn it on. Alexa, turn off my... I don't know if what's the one in my phone?
Yeah, I don't
know.
think that's Alexa.
So
that's the one connected to your Lexus.
That's right. And which I don't think, is necessarily saved. I might need to give you a ride in my Lexus because I know you saved your Alexa.
Well, yeah, but I don't have Alexa. Sometimes the Alexa confuse itself for the Lexus when you say, Alexa, do this, and the Lexus actually ends up doing it.
See, that's the problem. Yeah. Sometimes I say, okay, Google. Sometimes I say, Alexa. Sometimes I say, Siri. Sometimes I say, Lexus. It's hard to know.
Yeah, so you have all of them.
Yeah, it's the same. It used to be what I would do with my kids. I would run through a litany of names before I finally discovered the name of the kid I was actually trying to yell at. But any hoodles, I've really been trying to reinvest in my marriage.
Oh, great.
Steve has been preaching from the main auditorium about, godly marriages and all of that.
Steve also has been doing a lot with cuffing season, but the right cuffing that you're supposed to do, which is cuffing yourself to that man or lady who is your wife or your husband.
Yeah, and I feel like my husband Lance Labont needs a little extra help and support from time to time. And it feels like one of those times, he gets up and he leaves the house every day at the same time to go to work. And, I recently thought about following him, to just see what he's up to. But, you assured me that he is indeed going to work. I noticed that our bank account did change from, his regular paychecks to cash deposits, but it's in the exact same amount that his paychecks always were. So I'm sure
it's probably a tax thing, Hallie. And sometimes, I feel like ladies get all sort of worked up about the details, don't you? And men are all about the simple, hard facts and just getting it done.
And, Steve was preaching on the weekend about godly marriages, and he was showing some TikToks from Mark Driscoll, and I found him to be so
he's awesome.
Inspiring. I mean, he's such a manly man. I've never seen his chest, but I'm sure it's covered in hair like a bear.
He showed it in one of his...
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, he did a whole sermon where he was actually shirtless.
Oh,
and
wow.
he would beat his chest. It was awesome. I forgot what it was. Put on the Armor of Christ one where he would beat his chest. And, it was interesting because he actually did trim, which I, was a little bit surprised by. But, he's not afraid to bear it all.
Oh, no. He seems like he's the type of guy that would go straight to his GP, his general doctor, and get those testosterone pellets put in his haunches so that
I don't think he would need them, Hallie.
I've been downloading some Mark Driscoll online videos where he talks about the way a godly man treats his wife, how he overpowers her and, forces himself upon her and, how he takes her and he shows her what he wants and he shoves her head where it can go. And he does all of those things. And it just is really compelling when you listen to it. I mean, he says, the husband is the head of the household, the way that Christ is the head of the church. And now I'm like, whoo, he preached to me, preacher,
right.
Mark, and
was that the one where he's also talking about guys shouldn't go to get colonoscopies because that's a bit gay?
Yes, which, I think maybe you can just drink the Ecto Cooler and clean yourself out and maybe some polyps will fly out with the fluid. You wouldn't want a female doctor getting in your behind as a man for sure. No. But you also certainly wouldn't want a male doctor getting up there. So I think Mark Driscoll's right when he says, you know what? Do you think the God of the universe can't keep a little bit of, prostate cancer out of a godly man who's
Right.
following Christ. I mean, that's not impossible. Nothing is impossible. But Mark, he just has good things to say to husbands to really let them know that God gave them this woman. I mean, in the Bible, women were basically property. And, so we've come a long way, baby. And we should be really happy to be kind of overpowered and dominated by our husbands. I hate to say this, but Mark says it in the bedroom. So I'm going to start, playing some of his videos for Lance and see if, my husband, Lance Labont, can kind of, get inspired to, have his way and, all that stuff that, is what God really has planned for, Christian marriages.
Right. And I don't really need any more details about that, Halle, but I guess I would ask isn't it, what kind of energy is Lance bringing to the table right now?
Hypoglycemic?
What is it? Oh, his blood sugar's low?
Yeah, he seems to crash a lot throughout the day. He's really got to kind of put his feet up in his recliner chair and sort of just regulate himself by jumping on ESPN on his phone and checking out what's happening with the ball games,
Okay. So, I mean, that sounds to me, though, Halle, like, I hate to say this, but maybe, even though you are the one that it's obviously you work a lot, you have a lot of responsibilities with your teens, and your daughters and Day specifically, maybe have you considered that some of that low energy that you're getting from Lance is actually because of maybe something that you're doing?
There's no doubt in my mind that that's the case. I mean, look at from the very beginning of the Bible, you know what? It was Eve's fault. And, I feel like the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And, as the weaker sex, I'm sure it's something that I'm doing. It's some shortcoming of mine. And, I'll put it on the top of my prayer list. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, my accountability buddy.
Well, and I do think that, maybe Halle, I'm just trying to speak from the guy perspective here, and maybe you could substitute your 10-minute prayer alarm. Maybe make every other one of those, instead of a prayer alarm, make it a say something cool to Lance alarm. Do something that would make Lance excited alarm, so that every 20 minutes you are doing something that reinvigorates that relationship in a way that, like Mark Driscoll said, when you aren't doing a colonoscopy every year, you've got that you can take that 3 to 5 hours of time that would take and put it back into your partnership. Yes.
And, the wisdom of Mark Driscoll, it just seems to be a never-ending fount of blessing. Because, he doesn't just tell men how to be manly men and how to treat their wives, but he also speaks to women. And he lets women know, like, hey, there's a few ground rules, gals.
Yeah.
Number 1, don't ever interrupt your husband. I mean, not ever. There is no reason ever to interrupt him.
It's true.
Also, you should be, spending a lot of your...
And I'm sorry, and I just got to interrupt you here for a second, Halle. Another thing that he says is, he speaks to women in a way that I feel like women need to be spoken to.
That's right.
Which is, a lot of times his voice he's more direct. Mm-hmm. He really boils it down, mm-hmm. so that women can understand it. Mm-hmm. Because I think sometimes men are playing 3D chess all the time.
Yep.
With all sorts of different things that we've got all these pressures and stresses around. And I just like that he's like, ladies, here's how it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc.
Yeah. And it's pretty simple. He's basically like, sit down, shut up. Well, frankly, I think that's great advice, because you know what I need? I need to take a load off. I do need to sit down. And the Bible says, be still and know that I am God.
That's what a banger that one is.
So I feel like, Driscoll's really got his finger on the pulse. And I like when he talks to women directly and tells us, You got no choice in the bedroom. You do what the guy wants to do because, he is being directed by God. The Holy Spirit is there in the marital bedroom. The marital bed is undefiled, meaning that what your husband says goes, and you got to get with the program. Frankly, I would get with any program whatsoever. I'm just trying to get Lance to, pick a program.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? Whatever that might be. We have stuff that, is really just sort of relegated and delegated to birthdays only. But, I could bring that out anytime in the 12-month calendar year if he wants to. Mark Driscoll says, why do women have ponytails? Well, it's so that you can grab it and show them where their head's supposed to be at any given time. You know what I mean? It's the same with like a horse, putting a bit in a horse's mouth. It's probably very similar to what Dr. James Dobson, an incredible psychologist. I never know the difference between an astronomer and astrologer. And I feel like I do the same thing with psychotherapy. And why? Probably because it's all psycho.
Honestly, the same way with orthodontist and ornithologist.
Same
And I made the
thing.
mistake of going to an ornithologist once for teeth whitening.
What happened?
Well, I got it. It was completely different process than you would think.
Your teeth are so white, it almost looks like somebody's shining a black light on them.
This wasn't recently, but yes, I do now. I just get them professionally bleached, which is great, and I highly recommend it. I just go to Dr. Crisp.
That's cool.
But yeah, once when I went to an ornithologist for tooth whitening, it did not go the way you would think. And I guess just to paint the picture, have you ever seen those birds that essentially clean the rhinoceroses of all the little things? Or you've been to a spa where they put your feet in a fish tank?
Oh, no, but they put hot rocks on my spine.
Yeah, it was similar to that, but they basically put my head in a bird box and had a bunch of these really small, delicate birds pick all the things out of my teeth, which I'm not saying it didn't work. I'm just saying it wasn't what I expected. And maybe to tie it back into whatever we were talking about with you before, Halle, sometimes you've got to be open to the unexpected. Isn't that right?
Test, check 1, 2. You know you need unique New York. You know you need unique New York. Does that sound all right? Ah, that's better. You can always tell something's missing when you get isolated results, like AI that's only right for one of your systems. Get AI that can work across your data and applications. Learn more at IBM.com. The AI built for business. IBM.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Well, don't let my husband Lance Labont see your bird box because he might try to eat one of those little birds. He's, been on a almost exclusively little French bird diet.
Oh, the ortolan diet, yeah.
I can't keep enough like big napkins washed and dried in my house because he says he has to have a big old linen over his head every time he crunches up one of them birds with all the little bird bones. But anywhoodles, I was talking about Dr. James Dobson, an awesome, renowned psychologist and author and head of Focus on the Family out there in the godly Colorado Springs, Colorado. He advocates, beating the heck out of your kids.
Right.
So I don't see why, there would be any difference, with Driscoll telling men to just really give their wife the business. She'll feel wanted. That's the nice thing.
And I, Halle, I'm not married. And as our listeners know, I'm very busy right now, but I am always looking. Even that has come back up recently. I did, and I'm not sure if I mentioned him before. My friend Clay Mason Bannerman and I are back dating
each other.
What? No.
What?
Tipper and Mickey.
Tiffer and Mickey are back.
Tiffer and Mickey
I
are
wondered.
back.
Oh,
But it's gotten a bit weird, to be honest, because they lost their place. Unfortunately, they had a really nice place.
is that right?
They lost it because they were involved in that whole. It was basically a thing where they were using their YouTube channel to sponsor a certain kind of energy drink that ended up being made in China, that ended up being laden with toxic chemicals. They didn't know. Of course, there was a lawsuit involved. A lot of people got caught up in it, and they lost their house.
Wow.
They are living with a friend right now, and I hate to even say who that friend is.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
They've
no.
moved in next door with Donovan Gio. And so now we've got Tiffer over there. We've got Mickey over there. We've got, of course, Bobby Lou has been crashing there because she's dating Donovan Gio.
And
so
for
now,
those of you who are just tuning in, Tiffer and Mickey are Clay and Gray's girlfriends and they're twins, but they also have a triplet who is Barbie Lou too.
Right. And so they're all living together. And, the other day, Donovan Gio just came right in the back door like he normally does. And he's, and he's based, with one of his classic catchphrases, which in this case was, in this case was.
Are you okay? Are you getting choked up?
Yeah, it's a bit too grotesque to say.
What was it?
If you can't thank me, you better spank me.
Oh, it grieves the heart of God.
But I guess
I'm disgusted.
But I guess they've been kind of implementing that sort of rule in that house, which is if you don't say thank you for something, you get spanked.
Well, that's probably good in the case of Popsicles. Your best friend Clay's grandson is pretty much staying over there at Donovan Gio's now too, and then Donovan's nephew Pellicules. So it's good that you got Barbie Lou who and Tiffer and Mickey and Tiff are they the same or are they
they're different
over there because they can look after Popsicles and Pellicules.
Well, they're all over there, and it's honestly like the most weird sitcom you've ever seen.
I'm sure.
Because you've got a crazy neighbor who's got catchphrases, and then you've got some twins that are really triplets who, and then you've got these two kids running around, and they've, and of course Donovan Gio's home, despite it being a geodesic dome, does just have that classic kind of open kitchen with the staircase coming down and the couch in the middle. And so there's always just antics going on. And recently it was this whole, if you don't say thank you, I better spank you thing. And I just said, I laid it down to Clay and I said, if he tries to spank my lady friend, I am absolutely gonna have to have words with him. And Clay said the same thing. Because we're dating with twins, and we just have to have the same rules because it's honestly like what you were saying with your husband. It's with Lance is you've got to pick a program, don't you, Halle? And for these two ladies, we've got to pick the same program because obviously the twins, they think the same things. They basically got the same brain. And if one of them's on one program, one of them's on another, it's going to be confusing.
That's true. They feel each other's, headaches and morning sickness and all that stuff. When you're twins, you are sort of connected that way.
Oh yeah. Well, if you drive one too far away from the other one just starts screaming. Although we actually still have never all hung out together. But it's interesting.
I bet Mark Driscoll would be so impressed that you two Christian guys just who have such hearts for Christ are dating these twins.
Oh, we're having a blast. It's so great.
That is so cool. One last thing. I just like how much Mark Driscoll, he funnels a lot of aggressive sexual energy from the pulpit. And, not that he uses a pulpit, he's wandering around pulpit free, because he can't be confined. He has to go where the Spirit moves him and wear a diva mic on his face. I shouldn't say diva around in regards to Mark Driscoll because he's so manly.
Right, just a
So maybe
gentleman's
Devo
microphone.
is a
Yeah.
Devo microphone, and
devotional devoted microphone.
yeah. I mean, he'll preach and teach in a t-shirt, in a flannel. You know, Steve still kind of keeps it classy and dresses up, but I think the reason Mark, can't even be bothered to put on a dress shirt is maybe he's just got too big of muscles. He has to have a more stretchy fabric.
Well, yeah, and sometimes, and I don't like to comment on other people's appearance and body type.
Course.
When he hit middle age, it's almost like a bit too much sausage stuffed in a bit too little wrapper. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would encourage him to possibly change up his jeans, just because now baggy is back, and as everyone knows, I am sponsored by Riffy Boy Jeans, big on the bottom, small on the big on the top, small on the bottom jeans, and I think that would look way better for his body type, especially if he had some suspenders when he did the shirt off thing.
That would be, dare I say, hot, but in a godly way. I'm Halle Laurent playing Halle Labont, and Grey Haas was played by Greg Hess. Follow us and Mega the Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And if you really want to get out of hell free card, support us on Patreon. The link is in the show notes.